Elias Kane sat in a chamber unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls shimmered like liquid crystal, reflecting a soft light that shifted colors as if alive. The air was warm but carried a faint metallic tang, unfamiliar and strangely comforting. He had been led here by the Slithari guards, who now hovered at attention near the entrance, silent and watchful. Queen Velissa sat on a throne that seemed carved from the same living crystal as the walls, her eyes fixed on Elias's glowing arm. It pulsed softly in the chamber's light, casting a faint glow across the floor. She gestured for him to sit on a low platform before her. "You must understand," she began, her voice calm but commanding. "Your injury is not like those of your species. Humans are resilient, yes, but what you carry is ancient, rare, dangerous." Elias flexed his fingers, feeling the strange warmth of the scar beneath his skin. I don't understand. It was an accident. Something on Earth, an energy source we were studying it. It bonded with me. That's all I know." Velissa's gaze softened for a moment, then sharpened. "You call it an accident. We call it a spark. One that has not been seen in our histories for centuries. The pattern of energy in your flesh, it mirrors the energy of the first ones." "The first ones?" Elias asked, leaning forward. What are they?" The queen rose gracefully, walking toward him. Each step seemed to ripple across the crystal floor, yet her presence was gentle. "They were the earliest beings to harness the universal energy that flows through all life. They created, destroyed, and reshaped entire worlds. We Slithari revered them and feared them. Their knowledge is thought lost, but traces remain. Your scar bears their mark." Elias stared at his arm, the glow now seeming almost alive. He had faced death more times than he could count, but he had never felt anything like this. "So, my injury, it's powerful?" Velissa nodded. "Powerful, yes, but uncontrolled. Dangerous to both you and others if you do not learn to master it, and yet it has saved you from harm. The guards who would have struck you now hesitate. They recognize something they cannot fully understand." Outside the chamber, the faint hum of the palace continued, but Elias could feel the pulse of energy thrumming in the very walls. He realized that this place, this palace, was alive in a way humans had never encountered. The Slithari had adapted to this energy, shaped it, and now it flowed around them like a living network. Velissa gestured to the guards, who stepped aside. She moved closer to Elias, studying his eyes. "Humans are strange. Weak in body, yet strong in will. Small in size, yet capable of remarkable feats. Your people survive where others fail. You are resourceful." Elias felt a swell of pride mixed with fear. He had always known humans were underestimated across the galaxy. Now, facing an alien queen who saw him not as prey but as a potential ally, or a tool, he understood that perception was a powerful weapon. "You must learn," Velissa continued, "that the energy you carry is part of the universe itself. Your body absorbed it accidentally, yet it responded to your will. Most species could not survive such exposure. You did." Elias flexed his glowing hand again. The scar pulsed softly, and he felt a warmth spreading through his arm. I can feel it. It's alive somehow, but I don't know how to control it." The queen nodded. "Control comes from understanding, from respect, from discipline. You must learn the ways of the energy or it may consume you. It will not harm those who are prepared, but to the unready, it is dangerous." For the next several hours, Elias and Velissa spoke of history, science, and the hidden forces that shaped galaxies. She told him of the first ones and their connection to the energy that now ran through his body. She spoke of civilizations that had risen and fallen because they misused this power. Elias listened, absorbing every word, realizing that the glowing scar was more than a wound. It was a key to something far larger than he had imagined. During their conversation, he learned that the Slithari had long monitored Earth, fascinated by humans' resilience and creativity. They had seen humanity survive catastrophes that would have destroyed other species, and now they had before them a human who bore a mark of the first ones, a being who could perhaps bridge the ancient gap between human ingenuity and the forgotten power of the cosmos. "Why me?" Elias asked finally, voice low. "Why did this happen to me?" Velissa studied him carefully. "Perhaps by chance, perhaps by fate, perhaps because the universe has need of you. The energy recognizes those who can endure it, who can use it wisely. You survived and it has bonded with you. You are chosen in a way. But being chosen carries responsibility. Elias looked down at his glowing arm, feeling the weight of her words. He had always acted on instinct, relying on quick thinking and courage to survive. Now he realized there was something beyond instinct, something that required understanding, patience, and careful action. Later, Velisa instructed him to rest. He was led to a smaller chamber, quiet and filled with soft light. A thin, flowing substance covered the bed, almost like liquid crystal, warm and comforting. He lay down, but sleep did not come easily. The scar pulsed gently, almost as if it had its own heartbeat. He touched it and felt a surge of energy, subtle but undeniable. While Elias rested, the queen met with her council. "The human carries the spark," she told them. "It is dangerous, yes, but also a gift. He is not an enemy. Observe him. Learn from him. He may be the key to what comes next." One of the council members, a tall Slithari with silver-toned skin, frowned. "Queen, he is human. They are unpredictable. What if he turns against us?" Velisa's eyes gleamed with determination. "Then we will adapt. But first we must understand him. The energy within him, it reacts to life itself. It is more than a weapon. It is a bridge between worlds." The following days were filled with training and observation. Elias was not confined in chains or cells. Instead, he was guided through the palace and its surroundings, allowed to move freely under the careful watch of the guards. The queen herself taught him to sense the energy within his body, to feel its rhythm, and to begin understanding its power. Elias discovered that the scar responded to emotion and focus. When he concentrated on courage, the glow brightened. When fear took over, it dimmed. Small objects levitated slightly when he directed the energy, though the effect was unpredictable. Each success was followed by careful instruction from Velisa, who warned him not to overreach. One evening, while Elias practiced, he looked out from a balcony over the alien city. The crystal structures reflected the twin suns' light, creating a kaleidoscope of colors across the sky. He realized that this strange world, once hostile and unknown, had become a place of learning, a laboratory for his own abilities and a testing ground for humanity's potential. He thought of Earth, of his team, of the countless humans who had survived impossible odds. And he understood something vital. Human strength was not measured only in weapons or numbers, but in resilience, adaptability, and courage. His injury, his glowing scar, was simply another manifestation of that truth. As night fell over Varion, the queen appeared once more. "You have learned quickly," she said, "faster than most of my kind. But there is more to come. Forces are moving across the stars. You may not yet understand them, but your presence here is not a coincidence. Prepare yourself. Your journey has only begun." Elias nodded, feeling both fear and determination. He had survived battles, accidents, and countless dangers. Now he faced a challenge unlike any other, mastering a power older than his species and earning the trust of beings who could have destroyed him in an instant. For the first time, he felt a strange sense of destiny. His scar was no longer just a mark of survival. It was a symbol of potential, a spark that could change the course of events in ways he had yet to imagine. And deep within the palace, in the heart of the Crystal City, Queen Velisa watched him. She saw not just a human, but a link to a power lost for eons, a chance to unite strength, courage, and ancient energy against the darkness she feared would soon return. Outside, the winds of Varian howled softly, carrying a promise of change across the alien landscape. Elias Kane, a wounded human, had become more than a survivor. He had become a mystery, a symbol, and perhaps the first spark of hope for two civilizations teetering on the edge of conflict. The secret within him was awakening, and the universe would take notice. The palace of the Slithari shimmered under the twin suns of Varion, its crystal towers casting kaleidoscopic reflections across the valley below. Elias Kane stood on a balcony overlooking the city, the soft hum of alien energy surrounding him. His glowing scar pulsed gently, syncing with his heartbeat, reminding him that he was no ordinary human. He carried a power older than most species could imagine. He had spent several days learning from Queen Velisa and her advisors, absorbing knowledge about the energy within him. Each day, his control improved and small bursts of energy began to respond to his will. Objects would levitate slightly, light would bend near his hands, and he could sense subtle movements of life around him. The queen observed quietly, her golden eyes assessing his progress. Good, she said finally, breaking the silence. You are learning faster than most. But knowledge alone will not protect you or your people. You must understand balance. Strength without wisdom brings ruin. Elias nodded. I understand. I don't know exactly what I am yet, but I want to learn. I want to use this to help, not harm. Valissa studied him closely. Your kind has survived where others failed, not because of brute strength, but because of resilience, ingenuity, and cooperation. These are traits we admire, though we rarely see them in a single individual. You may be the first human we encounter with both the spark of the first ones and the qualities of your species. Elias felt a mixture of pride and unease. He had survived countless missions, fought hostile environments, and faced aliens who wanted to kill him, but now he was expected to be more than a survivor. He was expected to be a bridge, a symbol, and possibly a weapon. Later, the Queen summoned him to a private chamber, where holographic maps of nearby star systems floated mid-air. She pointed to a region marked in dark red. The Zarvath are moving, she explained. A fleet of warships has been detected near your planet and others nearby. They are aggressive, powerful, and utterly ruthless. If they succeed, both Earth and Varian will be in their grasp. Elias studied the maps carefully. He had heard rumors of the Zarvath, a nomadic alien race known for destroying civilizations that resisted them. How can we stop them, he asked. Your people are strong, but I don't know if it's enough. Valissa's expression darkened. Strength alone will not suffice. The Zarvath are organized, merciless, and adaptive, but your kind, humans, are unpredictable, resourceful. You may give us an edge we have never had before. Elias realized the Queen was offering something extraordinary, a chance to prove humanity's value on a galactic stage. And yet, the responsibility weighed heavily on him. One wrong move could mean death for his people and countless others. Over the next several days, Elias worked closely with the Slithari. He observed their military strategies, their use of energy in battle, and their technology, which seemed alive and responsive. The Queen allowed him to advise her council, suggesting unconventional human tactics that relied on intuition, unpredictability, and quick thinking rather than raw power. At first, the Slithari were skeptical. They were a disciplined race, used to centuries of structured training and hierarchy. But as Elias presented his strategies, they began to see the value in thinking differently. His human perspective, combined with his mysterious energy, introduced possibilities the Slithari had never considered. Your people survive because you think beyond rules, Valissa told him one afternoon. You adapt. You improvise. These are qualities we respect even if they unsettle us. Elias smiled faintly. It's just instinct. Humans don't always have time to overthink. We act and we survive. The Queen's eyes gleamed with understanding. Perhaps that is why the spark chose you. The universe favors those who adapt, not just those who follow. Meanwhile, Elias began to form a tentative bond with the Slithari guards assigned to him. Initially wary of a human, they had grown curious as they observed him learning to control the energy within his body. They practiced training exercises together, and Elias showed them small demonstrations of his abilities. Objects levitated, energy flared harmlessly in controlled bursts, and the guards realized that this human carried power that even the most skilled among them could not fully command. One guard, a tall Slithari named KL, finally spoke aloud during a training session. You are different from your kind. You carry a spark we fear, yet you do not let it consume you. It is remarkable, Elias nodded. It's not easy. Every day is a challenge. But I have to learn. I don't want this to hurt anyone, not my people, not yours. Kale nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps your people are stronger than we realized. Strength comes in many forms. The fragile trust between human and alien grew, and for the first time, Elias felt a glimmer of hope. He was not alone in facing the looming threat of the Zarvath. Humans and Slithari might stand together, if he could convince both sides to trust one another. The tension escalated when scouts reported movement near the planet's orbit. The Zarvath fleet had been detected, approaching Varian faster than anticipated. Valissa called an emergency council. Elias was brought forward, and the Queen allowed him to speak to the assembled Slithari leaders. Your forces are disciplined and strong, Elias said, projecting calm authority. But the Zarvath are unpredictable, and they fight differently than you expect. If we combine our strengths, Your technology, your discipline, and human unpredictability. We can outmaneuver them. We need to think creatively, use tactics they won't anticipate, and act as one. Otherwise, they will overwhelm us, the council murmured among themselves. Some were skeptical, some intrigued. But the Queen's support gave Elias credibility. Valisa stepped forward. He speaks truth, she said. The humans bring qualities we have long undervalued. Listen to him. Consider his suggestions, and trust that the spark within him is a guide, not a threat. Over the next hours, plans were drawn. The Slithari fleet would combine with human strategies, forming smaller, unpredictable units capable of rapid strikes. Elias worked tirelessly with both humans and aliens, coordinating drills, mapping escape routes, and predicting Zarvath attack patterns. As night fell over Varian, Elias sat with Mira Solis discussing their next moves. This is unlike anything we've ever faced, she said quietly. Aliens who respect us. Strategies that could save entire planets. It's a lot, Elias nodded. I know, but we have a chance. That's more than most humans ever get. We survive, we adapt, and maybe, just maybe, we can make a difference. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime. The Queen entered, her presence calm but commanding. The Zarvath are near, she said. Tomorrow we see if trust and courage are enough to face the darkness. Tonight rest, tomorrow we fight. Elias watched as she left, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on him. The scar on his arm pulsed steadily, a reminder that the energy within him was not passive. It was alive, and it was ready. That night, he could not sleep. He walked through the palace corridors, observing the alien city below. Thousands of lives hung in the balance, and he understood that fear and courage were intertwined. Human history had shown him that courage often appeared in the darkest moments. And now in the heart of Varian, that courage would be tested once more. He touched his glowing scar, feeling a strange warmth that spread through his body. I will not fail, he whispered to himself. Not my people. Not theirs. Not anyone. And deep within the palace, Queen Valisa watched from above, her eyes on the human who carried a spark of the first ones. She understood that he was not merely a visitor, not merely a prisoner. He was a potential ally, a symbol of resilience, and perhaps the key to saving two civilizations from destruction. The bond between human and alien, fragile but growing, was about to face its first true test. Tomorrow the Zarvath would arrive, and humanity's ingenuity, combined with Slithari discipline, would be put to the ultimate trial. Elias Kane, a wounded human with a glowing scar, understood one truth clearly. Survival alone would not be enough. Only courage, cleverness, and unity could turn the tide of the coming battle. And as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across Varian's crystal towers, he knew that the fragile alliance he had helped build was the only hope against the storm approaching from the stars. The real test was about to begin. The twin suns of Varian barely peeked over the horizon when alarms blared across the crystal city. Elias Kane snapped awake, his glowing scar pulsing rapidly as though sensing imminent danger. He rushed to the balcony and saw it, an endless fleet of Zarvath warships descending from the stars, dark and menacing, their energy weapons already crackling as they cut through the upper atmosphere. Queen Valisa's voice echoed through the palace chambers, amplified by the Slithari energy network. All forces prepare for battle. Protect the city. Defend the crystal towers. Do not allow the Zarvath to land. Elias felt a surge of determination. This was the moment he had trained for. The moment his human ingenuity and the mysterious energy within him could make a difference. We can't just fight their ships head-on, he told Kyle and the Slithari commanders who had gathered around him. We need to be unpredictable. Split their fleet, use their own momentum against them. Hit fast, retreat, strike where they don't expect it. Some of the Slithari guards hesitated. They were used to precise, disciplined tactics, not improvisation. But Valisa gave a single nod, signaling trust in Elias's plan. The guards squared their shoulders, ready to follow his lead. Follow my instructions exactly, Elias said, his scar glowing brightly as he concentrated. He felt the energy inside him hum in response, a living rhythm that connected him to the world around him. Small objects in the palace floated briefly as the energy pulsed through his body, a sign that his control had strengthened. We can use my abilities to disrupt their ships, but we must coordinate perfectly. The battle began as Zarvath ships fired upon the city. Energy blasts collided with the crystal towers, sending shards flying. Slithari ships rose to meet them, sleek and agile, but the Zarvath were numerous and relentless. Explosions lit the sky, smoke curling like black clouds against the twin suns. Elias focused, extending his glowing hand toward the nearest cluster of Zarvath fighters. The energy within him leapt forward, bending space slightly around the ships. One vessel shuddered and veered off course, crashing into another. The Slithari gasped in astonishment. Never had a human demonstrated such power. Kale shouted, "Captain Kane!" "Use it again!" Elias nodded, concentrating harder. He felt the energy flow through his veins, not his pain, but his strength. Small bursts of his energy diverted enemy fire, creating openings for Slithari ships to strike. The humans and Slithari moved as one, a combination of raw strength, strategy, and unpredictable maneuvers that the Zarvath could not anticipate. But the Zarvath were adaptable. They shifted formations, anticipating the attacks, and began targeting weaker points in the city's defenses. An explosion tore through a crystal tower near the palace, sending fragments into the air. Elias's heart raced. He had to act, and fast. He leapt onto a floating platform, channeling his energy into a concentrated blast. The light from his scar intensified, forming a wave that pushed several enemy ships backward. His team followed his lead, using the openings he created to strike key targets. Queen Valissa watched from above, her golden eyes gleaming with pride. "He fights not as one, but as many," she murmured. "A human who inspires courage. A spark we cannot ignore." The battle raged for hours. Elias coordinated small teams of humans and Slithari, hitting enemy supply ships and cutting off reinforcements. His glowing scar pulsed in rhythm with his focus, each movement precise yet fluid. Enemy ships faltered, crashing into each other or retreating under the relentless pressure. Mira Solis flew alongside Elias in a smaller Slithari fighter, her eyes wide as they dodged energy blasts. "Captain, you're incredible. How are you doing this?" Elias focused, feeling the energy respond to his determination. "It's not me alone. Humans survive because we adapt. Combine that with your discipline and we can win this." Meanwhile, on the ground, the Slithari soldiers used the confusion to protect the city's population. Elias realized that victory depended on both aerial and ground coordination. He used bursts of energy to shield civilians from stray blasts, creating temporary barriers that shimmered like crystal in the sunlight. The Zarvath commander, sensing the humans' unusual power, targeted Elias directly. Energy beams cut across the battlefield, striking near him, but he dodged with agility and instinct, the scar on his arm glowing brighter with each threat. His human resilience, quick thinking, courage under fire, and adaptability kept him alive while turning enemy attention away from weaker targets. At a critical moment, a massive Zarvath cruiser prepared a direct strike on the palace. Elias knew that if it hit, the city would fall. Concentrating all his energy, he leapt toward the ship's path. His scar blazed like a beacon, emitting a pulse of force that disrupted the ship's trajectory. The cruiser veered violently, colliding with several others in the fleet. The shockwave rippled across the battlefield, giving the Slithari a crucial advantage. Kale shouted in disbelief, He's turning the tide." Elias's heart pounded, sweat mixing with the dust and energy around him. He realized that humans were underestimated, not because they were weak, but because no one could predict how far their courage and ingenuity could push the limits. Every move he made, every calculation, was amplified by the ancient energy within his scar, a force that responded to human will and determination. As the battle continued, Elias noticed the Zarvath beginning to retreat. Their formation had broken, and the Slithari, inspired by the humans' bravery, pressed forward with renewed vigor. Small squads led by Elias and Kale struck decisively, forcing enemy ships to flee or crash. Finally, after hours of relentless combat, the Zarvath withdrew beyond the atmosphere. Their fleet diminished and demoralized. The city was battered but intact, and the Slithari citizens emerged cautiously from their shelters. Queen Valissa appeared on the balcony overlooking the battlefield. Her expression was a mix of relief and admiration. She gestured toward Elias, and the guards who had once raised their spears in fear now bowed deeply. "You have done what few could," she said, her voice carrying across the city. "You have shown the power of courage, the spark of resilience, and the strength of your kind. Humans are remarkable." Elias, exhausted and bleeding from minor injuries, allowed himself a small smile. He looked at Mira and the Slithari around him. "We did it together," he said. "Humans, Slithari. We all survived because we worked as one. That's what makes us strong." Valissa stepped closer, her golden eyes meeting his. "You have proven that your kind is not to be underestimated. The spark you carry, it is more than a weapon. It is a symbol of hope. Today, two civilizations fought as one, and today you showed that humanity can inspire even those who have lived for millennia." The guards who had once been tense now approached Elias with respect. One of them, Kael, bowed slightly. "Captain Kane, you have earned our trust. Your courage saved many lives today. Your injury, your scar, it is no longer a mark of weakness but of strength." Elias looked down at his glowing arm. The wound that had once seemed like a curse now pulsed with pride. It had saved him, inspired allies, and turned enemies into retreating forces. He realized that strength could come in unexpected forms, and sometimes, what seemed like vulnerability could become the greatest advantage. The citizens of Varian began emerging from the city's safe zones, cheering for their defenders. Humans and Slithari alike celebrated the unlikely victory, understanding that courage, teamwork, and ingenuity had triumphed over overwhelming odds. As the twin suns set, painting the sky in brilliant shades of red and blue, Elias stood with Mira and Kael on the palace balcony. He felt the energy within him settle into a calm rhythm. The battle was won, but he knew this was only the beginning. The Zarvath would return, and the universe held dangers beyond imagination. Yet for the first time he felt confident that humans, undaunted, adaptable, and courageous, could meet those challenges. Queen Valissa watched him silently. "The spark within you is a guide," she said softly. "It has awakened hope where there was fear. You have earned respect, not only through strength but through the courage to act, the wisdom to adapt, and the heart to protect. This day will be remembered in our histories." Elias nodded, exhausted but determined. He understood now that humanity's true power was not in weapons, size, or numbers, but in their ability to inspire, adapt, and overcome. His scar, once a sign of an accident, had become a beacon. The battle for Varian was over, but the war for survival in the stars had only begun. And Elias Kane, a wounded human with a glowing scar, had proven that even in the face of overwhelming power, humans could rise, adapt, and prevail.